Hello. Now we can make Rahul happy because you now see the first woman who's on stage here today. And if you come to our IBM Smart Camp session at 2 o'clock, next door you'll see a woman entrepreneur pitch. So it's just very fun. So I have a great job. I get to travel around the world and meet people like you. And I'm in the software business in IBM and strategy. And my job is strictly to have relationships with investors, angel investors, venture capitalists, and the entrepreneurs who they fund or who are looking for funding all around the world, including in Turkey. This is the fifth year I've been in Turkey in a row, and we've met some great companies here. Now, other people have been asking you, how many people in the audience are entrepreneurs? I want to ask, how many people already have a startup company? Okay, how many people wish you had a startup company? Aha. And the investors, again, raise your hands. There's only a few, but those are the guys with checks. I'm in a venture capital group, quote unquote, but we don't have a fund per se like some. So we don't write checks, but we do have relationships with investors all around the world, including in Turkey, and as I said before. So where's the clicker here? So I want to talk to you about two things. One is why and how a very large global corporation would work with entrepreneurs in the first place. And the second is where we see opportunities for you. That's why I asked, which companies here, which people here were trying to build new businesses, and maybe I'll give you some ideas, we'll see. So a lot of people have talked about the ecosystem for entrepreneurs. And I like to remind people that the ecosystem has a lot of components. And maybe some of these components are more obvious in some places like Silicon Valley and in London than in other places. But it's not just the investors, and it's not just you guys, the entrepreneurs, but it's also the clients, and it's the business partners, and it's the press, who can be very helpful to you, by the way. That's free marketing for you if you can get some press. There's the service providers like the lawyers and the bankers, and people go, oh my God, lawyers. But really, there are law firms that can be very helpful. DLA Piper, for example, is a very global firm, and they have special programs for entrepreneurs, for emerging business, and relationships with corporate venture capitalists. And Silicon Valley Bank, for example, and there's a guy here from the bank, Andy, invests in companies and does debt financing for most of the startups in the United States and in some other places as well. And so these components of the ecosystem create a kind of an energy and a gathering and a community that's much stronger than each of those parts. And IBM works with all of these players, all the people in these ecosystems all around the world, because we believe in open innovation. So we spend about $5 or $6 billion a year on research and development. We have pure research labs in 12 different places around the world, including Nairobi, Kenya, and in China, and in Zurich, and lots of different places. But collectively, the investors and other sources of funding around the world are far greater than that. And so lots of things are being created outside of IBM, and that's why we care about this. So you might be too young to remember. I think we're all too young to remember the first stage or two of computing here. But the exciting thing now, and by the way, I'm a psychologist, so I'm really excited about this. The stage of computing we're approaching now has to do with cognitive abilities. We're developing a chip that is designed similarly to the way the brain is designed. We have a computer called Watson, which can learn and answer questions and act as an assistant to a doctor or other kinds of businesses. How many people saw Watson play the quiz show Jeopardy in 2011? So Watson is a story about risk, because they said they could play Jeopardy and win, but they said that the summer before. And in that summer, that computer could not beat a cat. But the engineers were very confident that they could do it, and the computer is a cognitive system, and it was learning over time, and it was getting better and better, and it won over a human being. Now, some of the other speakers have talked about social and mobile and analytics. These are categories of things and maybe trends in the industry that are important to all of us, but really, if you think about it, they're not separate things. And so you have mobile companies that use social and analyze big data. And you have all companies like the ones I have highlighted here, but there are lots of other examples. These interesting things are happening at the convergence of these trends. And so if you think about how these things play together, you can do very interesting things. Now, we talk about smarter planet, and I'll explain what I mean by that, but the need for technology and the need for us to do things differently and better is very palpable. I've always liked fun facts, so I'll give you 2 fun facts. One is that 90% of the information in the world was just created in the last couple of years. And think of what that's going to be in the next couple of years, and 2 years after that. It's just a complete explosion of information. The other fact is that 30 or 40% or more, depending on the region, of food is wasted. And there are people who are starving. And so the fact that food rots in the field and in transit and in distribution and in the stores is a crime. And there are technologies that allow you to help mitigate that. And so there are aspects of this theme that will sound to you like the Internet of Things, because it is. And we have a lot of opportunity for startups like you and for big businesses like us, because the world is instrumented. How many people here are sitting looking at their smartphone? Yes, you are. Don't lie to me. So everybody is connected in some way, but so are other things in the physical world, not just people. I don't want to call you a thing, but there are things in the physical world that are connected to IT. Transmission lines for energy, trains, roads, the heating and cooling in this building. I was at an agriculture conference last week, so I liked hearing about the dairy farm. I met lots of interesting companies, and one of them is a business partner of ours who does precision farming. Again, son of a farmer who loves IT, Fresno, California, trying to make farms work better. And so there are all these ways to instrument the physical world through sensors, RFID tags, Bluetooth, the things that are on your phone, and those things are all interconnected. Now, you might have wanted to do Internet of Things or make things smarter a few years ago, but the connectivity was not that great. How many people remember in the year 2000 when people were trying to do these things and the lines would drop and you couldn't push enough data through, and they were good ideas, but they didn't work. Now they do work. And then if you apply intelligence to all this information that's streaming off of all these sensors and all of these devices, and you can use analytics and even predictive analytics, then you can completely transform businesses like these. So in a smarter planet, you can have smart food, smart oil and gas, smart distribution, smart transportation, smart this and smart that. And I'm sure you can use your imaginations to think of things that can be made smarter, industries that can be made smarter by using analytics in ways that are very transformative. Now, one of the things that's very cool for you is that if you can use technology to completely transform an industry, the people in that industry, your potential clients, probably did not think to ask you for these things because they didn't know they could be done. And so you can be very creative, and you can offer ideas up to your potential clients to show them it can be done now that these things are possible. And so for a company like IBM, who believes in open innovation, we do lots of partnerships with startups. I mean, a couple thousand partnerships with startups, including many here in Turkey. And we often actually buy companies. I work on M&A as well, and a third of the companies we've bought in the past 10 years have been venture-backed companies. And so how do we find these entrepreneurs? I can physically come here to Turkey and just kind of hang out at a conference, but it's actually better to be a little more active about it. And so we go where the entrepreneurs are. We have business relationships, partnerships with lots of accelerators. We sponsor some of them. Some of them we just come and hold office hours or offer free stuff to the participants. We have relationships with some of the nonprofits like Deborah and the Kaufman Foundation and organizations that invest, like the Keiretsu Forum, which is going to have a big annual meeting here next month. And so if you're a big corporation and you have relationships with people in the ecosystem, which I had described earlier, then you're more likely to meet the right people and something wonderful will come of that. And I think one of the nice things about hanging out at Startup Istanbul or traveling around the world and going to places where investors and entrepreneurs live is that you really do not necessarily know what the outcome will be. You can't predict what kind of cool company you'll find or what kind of interesting people you'll meet, but it's always something good. And so we started some very specific programs in order to support entrepreneurs and to be more helpful, to help make people successful. We started a program called Smart Camp in 2009. Somebody here mentioned Seed Camp, which is a business plan competition held in London for companies from across Europe, and they started holding them in other cities as well. And so we stole the idea from them. Well, I shouldn't use the word stole because they helped us launch our program. We just had the idea that if we did something like a seed camp, like a boot camp for entrepreneurs, and did it on an IBM theme, like Smarter Planet, which I just described, you could find very interesting companies who were doing cool things out there that were important for business and for society, and would also make good partners for IBM. So we put this under the umbrella of a program called the IBM Global Entrepreneur. You can sign up for free, you can get free cloud hosting, and you can get mentoring. And so we've been running a Smart Camp in Istanbul for the last 4 years, yesterday and today, in fact. And as I said, if you come at 2 o'clock next door, you can meet the companies that are going to pitch. 4 from Turkey, and 1 from Morocco, and 1 from Egypt. And the prize is mentoring. The prize is to meet coaches who are really great people, investors, academics, serial entrepreneurs, people from our industry who are very experienced and want to give something back and are willing to share their thoughts and their ideas and their expertise with you. And so I encourage you to check out these programs, the Smart Camp competitions and the Entrepreneur Program as well. And I would just say that there's, besides the Smarter Planet and Internet of Things, there's lots of opportunities out there. Our previous speakers were absolutely correct when they said it doesn't cost as much money to start a new company now. There are lots of forms of capital. And I think that although there's more capital available in some places than others, it is out there. And one of the things that is maybe harder to get in a lot of places is that ecosystem and the coaching and the mentorship. And so please seek out things like this and seek out people who can help you build your business and help you make good connections with people who will be your clients. So thank you.